Well, the Cavaliers, they enter the season as the East favorites at plus 225. The Knicks right on their heels at plus 280. So for more on Cleveland, let's send it out to the Hall of Famer Marc Spears, who is at Cavaliers training camp for the first edition of Basketball Diaries with Donovan Mitchell, which will roll out all season on Anscape and ESPN.
Thank you, Malika. We're at IMG Academy in Sarasota, Florida, where the Cavs are embarked in the second day of training camp. Talked to Donovan Mitchell yesterday, and it was really tough for him talking about last season, in which the Cavaliers went from having the best record in the Eastern Conference to losing in the second round of the playoffs. We know a lot of pressure is on the face of the franchise, Donovan Mitchell, and this is what he had to say about that.
Naturally, that just comes with the job description, I feel like, and I welcome that. I feel like for me, and you've known me, like I train at a level to trust in my game and to trust, like, hey, this is who I'm going to be, and also mentally you train like, hey, this is what comes with it. That's why I was brought here, to be that leader, to be that guy. And that's just what it is. I mean, we did the steps, or at least you thought that we did the steps, but that's just part of the journey. Like, now the question is, are we going to do it again and again, and to get to that point? Ultimately, we're going to be judged by what happens April through June, and it's on us to decide, on us to lead this group and go out there and change that narrative. If we don't, hey, noise is going to be even louder. And if we do, it's still going to be there regardless, so it doesn't really matter as long as we handle our business.
Donovan told me it took him about 3 weeks to get out of the fog of the pain of losing in the second round and not competing for a championship. But he says that this team has gained a lot of experience, is ready to overcome adversity, and he's also motivated by the 2016 Cavaliers championship team. And he sees this parade picture, this mural at their practice facility, and that's given him a lot of motivation for this upcoming season. From Cavs training camp, I'm Marc J. Spears, ESPN Anscape.
Marc J. Spears, thank you as always. Mitchell's teams, they've won 65.5% of their regular season games that he has played in. So that gives him the best regular season win percentage, if you like that sort of thing, of any active player who has not reached the conference finals. But is anybody in the NBA facing more pressure than Donovan Mitchell this season? Well, I think that is a question that might call for a tower of power. That sounds like a job for Wendy's Tower of Power.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm palming the ball. Number 5, 4, 3, 2. Number 1.
I say it in a voice. Tower of Power.
Tower of Power. Starring Brian Windhorst.
All right, we got a UAE edition of who's facing the most pressure this season, and we are going to start with Kawhi Leonard. You wouldn't think that this guy would do that. He's a 2-time Finals MVP. After everything that has come to light over the offseason, whether or not we know where the truth lies, Kawhi is going to have to deliver this season. He finished last year strong. He had a healthy summer. He is under the gun to prove that he is worth it for the Clippers. He is yet to return on the investment, regardless of what the final number actually was. Now, one guy who hasn't returned on the investment, that's Zion Williamson in New Orleans. They're actually on the road this week in Australia as they ramp up for this season. Zion has $90 million on his contract after this season, and none of it is guaranteed, Malika, because he has not been able to deliver on being on the court. Now, he has come back in good shape. He has said all the right things. He said he's gotten himself in condition, but he has not been able to prove it on the court. He's running out of time in New Orleans. Speaking about a player who's been disappointing in recent years, there's been no player who's been more exciting and then more of a letdown than Ja Morant. Ja Morant, even though the Grizzlies are facing early season injuries, which has become a norm, and they restructured their team a little bit in the offseason, Ja Morant has not been able to follow up on the promise that he had earlier in his career. And he is so needed in Memphis this year. They need a huge season from him in a tough Western Conference. Number 2, who did we just hear about? Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like it's really his fault. He was a first-team All-NBA player last year, but multiple times now in his career, he's been the number 1 seed in the conference he's played in and not been able to get past the second round. He didn't have the Cavs ready. The blame can go a lot of different places, but he accepts that. He knows this season is a golden opportunity for the Cavs to represent the East. The Cavs have to take advantage. He's got to be the leader from day one. But number one, the player that we have been expecting to take control of the NBA for years now, Luka Doncic. We have taken that the year where he is going to win MVP has been coming for a year. This is it. He has now gotten settled with the Lakers. He's gotten himself in condition. He had a great summer. The team is built up around him. Even LeBron James is moving off to the side and saying, I'm going to play more of a supporting role, which means having the ball less. It is time for Luka to deliver on the promise. MVP candidate, trying to get back to the finals. He has all of the tools to do it. He's in shape to do it. Now is the time for Luka to come into his own as a Laker.
Number one.
I was like, where are we going, Wendy? Yeah. Where are we going? But I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I think, between the new team for Luka, obviously all of that, and I think the talent that everybody agrees is there. It's got to translate. I like this list, Wendy.
Not to mention, Dave McMenamin reported at the beginning of our show that LeBron James is trying to ramp up for the end of the season. He's never played, it's unprecedented to play in year 23, but it's unprecedented for him to have a Luka Doncic by his side to be able to try to help him carry that load. That's in the NBA. Brian, how's it going out there? This is what, like the 5th different country you've joined us from?
I don't know, but this is the 3rd straight year I've been in Abu Dhabi. They love the NBA here, and it's really become a home away from home for the league. We've
seen Abu Dhabi, Lille. There's a whole bunch of places we just showed that you have joined us from. But we are 24 hours away from tip-off of preseason basketball in the NBA. What are the plans for former MVP Joel Embiid this preseason? I imagine all eyes are on that, even in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, you're not going to see him here in Abu Dhabi. He was not a full participant in practice. Paul George was doing more in practice coming off his off-season knee surgery, but he is not going to play here in Abu Dhabi. All in all, you might see about a handful of Sixers players from their core not available. Just today, the 76ers announced that Jared McCain had surgery on his torn thumb ligament that he suffered last week. Something seems like there's a day that goes by where they don't have bad news. But the good news is VJ Edgecombe, their high draft pick from last summer, and Tyrese Maxey are out on the court, are working on their chemistry. Already, Edgecombe has really impressed his teammates with his shooting. His athleticism is already off the charts. So if you're going to look for something as a 76er fan, get excited about your first-round draft pick and your all-star Tyrese Maxey.
I want to bring our front office insider, Bobby Marks, into the conversation. I don't want to pour a wet blanket on the 76ers season already, but darn it, we're having this conversation again about all of these key players that aren't going to be able to participate in tomorrow's preseason game, Bobby. As someone who has worked in these front offices, how are you digesting this?
Oh, you want to feel good for the Sixers, but as we say in the offseason, it's supposed to be the honeymoon period. Everyone's supposed to love their roster, but it feels like we're in a reverse time machine back to last year with the Joel Embiid uncertain timeline. Certainly Paul George. Brian mentioned Jared McCain is going to be out at least 4 to 6 weeks. However, VJ Edgecombe, I guess VJ we trust moving forward, and you do still have Tyrese Maxey, but Malika, there is so much uncertainty as far as where this Sixers roster is going to go in a wide open Eastern Conference. And as we said last year, a lot of it's going to be reliant on the health of Joel Embiid and Paul George.
That is going to be the story of the 76ers here for the foreseeable future, with both of those guys locked into these long-term deals. But since we're talking about a wide open Eastern Conference, let's get to the other side of this matchup, because we know the New York Knicks, they're hoping to capitalize on that, right? They started training camp. They also had some time to ride some camels, by the way. That's OG Anunoby and Patrick Ewing out in the desert getting a little camel ride there. Some bonding time in Abu Dhabi. I had the chance to ride camels in Morocco. I'm a horseback riding girl, but I didn't do that.
I did in Dubai. I don't like it.
You know, that was it? All right. Well, I am enjoying seeing Patrick Ewing do it. Let's talk about the Knicks starters minutes, right? They played 940 minutes together in the regular season last year. By far, the most in the NBA. In fact, the Timberwolves' primary starters were the only other unit with over 500 minutes. So, Monica, I'm not going to ask you about riding camels, but you do call the Knicks games. You're on the broadcast during the season. Your biggest question for New York, knowing their lofty goals for this year, is what?
Yeah, I just want to see what a Mike Brown system looks like, honestly, right? You just mentioned the minutes. I mean, that was certainly something that was signature to this team last season. Mike Brown historically has played faster. I know that has been discussed a lot. I think there's going to be more depth consistently in terms of guys getting an opportunity to get into the rotation. And then, Malika, for me, it's not just last season, but you go back to the season prior to that. this team's defensive identity is one that I'm looking forward to seeing how it evolves, because even if you go back the last 2 seasons, there's quite the juxtaposition in those 2 seasons as well, but they still were able to have a tremendous amount of success.
Yeah, that's a good point. You might say Mike Brown, a huge off-season addition when you're looking at a New York Knicks team that largely brought back that same roster. I'm curious about Mike Brown saying that the 5th starter hasn't been decided yet. That's something that I'm going to be watching in the preseason. Brian, what are you hearing from the Knicks side of things out in Abu Dhabi?
First off, let me tell you how much the Knicks enjoyed their desert experience last night. They were all talking about it. They all, that is something that they don't normally start the season off of. They really enjoyed it. I will say that we got to watch some of practice here in Abu Dhabi today, and Mike Brown is really focusing on the offense, like Monica and you guys mentioned. Showing them extra film before the practice started, going over their offensive systems. They really want to have a more dynamic offense this year that doesn't rely as much on Jalen Brunson. That is not anything against Brunson. They're just wanting to play for a long season. And look, part of the reason he got this job was that he told the Knicks front office he was going to play his bench more. He said, get me more bench depth. I will play that bench. That is what they intend to do. Gerson Yabusele was here today, one of their big offseason pickups. He's playing against his former team in the 76ers. Jordan Clarkson out on the court today at practice. Another guy they want to play, Malcolm Brogdon, a guy expected to be part of the rotation, also playing out here. So they are healthy, and they are going to use that depth from day one starting tomorrow.
Malika, for me, it's Mitchell Robinson. I think what we can get from Mitchell Robinson last year, certainly we saw it in that Boston and Indiana series. Remember a year ago, we were wondering when Mitchell Robinson was going to come back from that injury, and he didn't come back until the end of February. And when you're looking at the potential 5th starter, is it Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson? I would keep our eyes on Robinson here. I had an opportunity to sit with his agent, Thad Fouché, last week in LA. He told me he's in the best shape of his career right now. His weight is down. He is healthy, and most important, he is in a contract year, something certainly to keep an eye on.
A little extra motivation there maybe, but that's music to Knicks fans' ears that Mitchell Robinson in the best shape of his life. Before we go to break, Brian, real quick, you mentioned Josh Hart, Bobby, potentially being in the mix for that starting spot. How's everything with his finger?
He is going to fight through that finger injury. They're going to use a splint starting in this game tomorrow.
Okay.
But more than the finger, like Bobby said, I think Josh Hart wants to start. He verbalized that at Media Day a couple of days ago. He wants to make a case for that. That case begins with Mike Brown's new system starting tomorrow night against the Sixers. And look, they know that Josh Hart is going to play hard no matter when he's out there. But that's another player who they've got to watch his minutes. They wanted to protect their entire frontline rotation, not just Jalen Brunson.
Right.